Hey there, welcome back aboard. Today, back on impeller duty, back on water pump duty. But first, something else, and that's something that I can actually consider a mostly finished project, which is fun. What I have done is sanding and varnishing these grips. And these things were in a pretty bad state, because let me show you what the state of affairs was. What we have here is how these things were. This is how the grips were. Like, they're perfectly good. The thing is, they're a little worn out in the sense that I don't think they got much of protection left. For the ones in the back, like these, I mean, this is towards the stern, that's fine. For the ones which are going up top, because I have them over here, well, rather on the upside, it's not great. Because you're going to see them get worn out quite a bit, as opposed to their counterparts, which are, well, let's say covered by the tent, are fully exposed to the elements. And because of that, they are going to have a lot more protection requirements. So what I've done is taken these home, sanded them down with, I think, 80 originally. 80 grit. And then varnish them, ground them down again, or rather sand them down, and then put varnishing on. 320 this time around. Look at that. That's a lot better. That's a lot better. I have also taken the parts here home. These are, well, these hold planks, really. And they too are going to be subjected to the same treatment. So I'm going to tighten these back up. Also, because we're approaching fall here in the Netherlands, and with fall comes rain. And right now I have these holes where the screws go in and of course connect to the grips that are open to the elements. So yeah, it sometimes drips a little bit just from those right down there, and it just drips. So that needs to get closed off. There we go, much improved. Very, very important grips, these ones, because if you don't have them, you still got the railing of the boat you can use, but this thing has seen better days and definitely needs a refit at some later date. For now though, not a priority. I want to get the engine going. So with these two installed, one on this side, one on the other side, it is time to have another look at the engine. But first, time to replace some of those parts. So here's our guy, our main character for today. We have a couple things to do, at least as far as I can tell. This little axle, I'm not sure if that's still functional, so I'm considering just replacing the whole thing because I got a new one anyway. The impeller is going to have to go because I got a new one and I don't know when I'm going to get access to this part again. There's a remainder of a gasket over there, and I'm also going to take this bit apart here because I think this, or there, is where the thing originally was leaking. That's what started this whole thing. So this is going to have to come apart, this is going to have to come apart, and I believe I have a gasket for precisely that part. I'm going to take this apart and see what we find on the other end. Now, as an additional thing before I forget and just move on with the part, I have considered relocating this impeller pump, because one of the videos that I was watching, I think it was from 14 years ago, said what we did was relocate the impeller pump. We put this one back without the impeller, and we relocated the impeller pump to a more, well, accessible location. That's great. That is a great idea. So I went online in one of the Facebook groups about maritime engineering, and I said, hey, is this feasible? Is this useful? And they said no. A few reasons. One, this pump, as you can see from the other end, well, you can't really. This one is tied to the engine. And because it's tied to the engine, it rotates at a variable RPM. So it adjusts itself. Well, it doesn't really adjust itself. It just spins as quickly as the engine does. And that means it's going to flow more or less water into the engine. If you have an electric pump that does the same thing, you can't, because the electric pump doesn't get any information about RPM, so it's just going to go and put water into your engine, or rather into your heat exchanger to cool it. Supposedly that can be a bad thing. And if you somehow have an electrical problem and your pump fails, you have an even bigger problem. Okay, so that's not going to work. There is something else that I'm considering, but I'm probably not going to do that this year, which is making the access hatch bigger. Let me show you. Here's the engine as you have last seen it, and what you can see in front of it is a small access port, if you want to call it that. It's sort of service hatch right there. Now, where does that go? It goes forward. What's forward? The battery compartment and company, because there's more. This right here is my septic tank. So this is where all the septic stuff goes, and I can either then pump that out. Let's see, I can pump it out towards the septic tank, which is what I have it set to now, I believe. Or not. I don't know. You guys get to be the judge of that. Or I can put it through this... Oh, what was the route that the thing took? I think it loops around here. La-di-da-di-da. Where does this pump come from? Anyway, I can either toss it overboard or not. That's the short of it. At any rate, this is a pump that mulches everything and makes it, well, more feasible to get put into the tank. The tank runs to, I think, about here. About to the edge of the battery. And, no, actually it doesn't. It runs to about here. To about there. Ideally, I would shift this thing forward because I still have some room there. It's not a lot, but every bit helps. Because what happens then is there's going to be potentially a little bit of room, allowing me to get better access through here, so through that compartment, or rather through that bulkhead, to the front of the engine. And if I can up the size of this access hatch, or well, surface hatch, whatever you want to call it, that would allow me to go through here on paper and access the fine oil filter as well as the impeller pump. It's just going to be a fairly sizable project, and honestly not one that I want to take on right now. For now, I just want to get this thing fixed and continue on, well, having a boat that's capable of maneuvering, because that's what I want to focus on right now. My scheduling is that next year I'm going to haul a boat out, potentially start tackling this, making that bigger, and I suppose that you guys have all sorts of recommendations on what to do / what not to do in that regard. In order to get better access to both this filter, which I will have to replace probably yearly, and that pump, which, you know, came off of that spot over there. So that's the plan for right now. I have this opportunity. I'm not going to take it right now because at the moment I feel like I have enough on my hands. Took off the bolts, and now, as much as for you as for me, I'm going to remove that bit. And we're going to see what we find, because this is going to be fairly important. Over here we have a ring that's going to have to probably come off, and I believe that there is another, well, I think there's a bearing in there. I think that's what is supposed to go in there, and rather what is in there. As for this part, there is another big ring in there. That attaches to the part of the engine, and over here maybe it's this ring, this rubber ring / gasket that is presently at fault. That is causing the leak. That is my hope anyway. I do have spares for all of these, as I showed you in the previous video, so I'm going to take those things apart. I'm going to replace them. I'm going to put the new ones back. And yep, there we go. Let's put that over there. I can already push this thing out. And I gotta be careful not to lose anything here. That would be a shame. I might need to pull out the impeller first. Normally I would use my my chest mount camera, but that unfortunately has a dead battery. I thought I replaced that at home, but I guess I didn't. Alright, so now this thing should come off. That might require 2 hands, so move the operation indoors here into the cabin because I got a bit more table space to work with. New axle, old axle. I find it hard to tell if this thing is crooked or bent. I don't think they are, based on what I'm looking at. The good news is, at least I ordered the right part. So we got the right stuff for the boat. And I think you can kind of see where we do have parts and where we don't. Which is going to help me figure out where things need to go when I'm rebuilding it. Now, the way that I see it, there might still be a part in there. Because I got these 2 rings, which are some sort of a gasket. Then we got these, which are serving as bearings. I didn't see any of these. And that's what I don't quite get. This is the new impeller. This is the guy that's going to go in. This is the guy that came out. I gotta say, I think it looks pretty decent. It doesn't look too bad, so I might just hang on to this one as a spare part. It still says Volvo Penta on here. I'm not sure if the camera wants to focus on that. Volvo Penta. And then a number, A31182. We got no such number on the new thing, but that's fine. I would find it very, very, very difficult to believe that this is the original part. That this is the original impeller. Because impellers supposedly get replaced every 100 hours or yearly. And this would be neither. So I guess they ordered an original Volvo impeller and put that in there. I just don't know when, because I don't have a service history of the boat. So, well, we're here now. I'm just going to replace it. Let's see if I can make this work. I've taken apart the old parts of the pump. The impeller's out, and on the other side, over here, we had a... Oh, I really don't know the English term for that. It's not a gasket, but it's one of these rings. They go in there, and they seal the place. My question is, why are there 2? Because I only found 1 in the pump. So, I don't know, maybe a spare? Perhaps? At any rate, of course, these things don't just go in. Because nothing on boats is ever easy. Well, it's easy for things to break. Maybe that's the easy bit. So, I hope you guys are ready. I brought the lube. And okay, that sounds awful. I'm going to put some Vaseline on here, which should allow this to slide into that spot where the old thing was a bit easier. I don't want to wreck this part right away, especially as I don't want to go through this whole roller coaster once more if I don't strictly have to. Come on. Please be seated. And you will be shafted shortly. I mean, sorry, I will put the axle in soon. Come on. Okay. That ought to do it. It seems to be flush with the rest of the part now. Same treatment is going to be received by the impeller itself. Then it gets seated on the axle, shaft, whatever you want to call it, and it's going to go right back into the thing. I don't really know what that bearing is going to get into. That's the word I was looking for, bearing. It might be in there, right? It might be the part that's currently like here. Not sure I can point that out properly. I am just not really sure how to get that out. I have a suspicion, which is to take this screw here, this tiny little thing. You can see I already kind of scratched it. To take that out and then remove this sort of smaller maker thingy. Take out that ring, which sits over there, And then we can probably get to the bearing. I just don't really know how to get this thing off. That's going to be a bit of a challenge. I think I've done it. This is the new impeller. This is the new axis, shaft, whatever you want to call it. The new reversing ring, or whatever the English term for that is in place on the other end. And I just skipped on the bearing because I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to get there. I don't see a way to get to that without potentially damaging the, I think this thing is called the cam ring or something like that. I don't want to destroy that part because getting either a new cam part is going to take a couple days and or cause me to have to buy a whole replacement pump, which is rather expensive. So we're not doing that. This ring, I believe, came from over here. So I'm probably going to have to also, well, still got some lube left on my hand, so that might do it. This thing is going to go back onto the other part. What other part was that? Because this is where the other thing is going to come. Yeah, I'm going to finish that up first. Because that gasket is going to have to get replaced. And then we can put at least the outer side of this thing back. It just had to be that way, huh? This thing does not quite fit. It's 90% there, but I need a little more than 95. It won't properly fit. See, these two will go, this one will go, and then I can put it on this one here. But I'm going to have to pull this thing to the level of I'm going to pull you apart. Shit. I did, in fact, pull you apart. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I'm not sure if that's going to be feasible. Yeah, no, that just does not fit. I don't know why, because this is supposedly the original impeller. This is supposedly the original impeller pump, and this is supposedly a gasket that fits, which it does not. I just cannot make this fit. I tried to make it fit, and I tore it apart. Like it just won't fit. I cannot get it around all of these things at the same time without tearing it apart. It just doesn't fit. So I'm probably gonna have to wait for a new part for that. Fantastic. New day, new adventures. Today, fuel filters. I have yet to further my work on the whole heat exchanger, but I have done some other work, which is that builds down there. Over here I got two full jerry cans. That is 40 liters, 40 liters. I'm not sure how much that is in gallons of fuel that fuel, water, and other various gunk that came out of there. Let's remove this for the time being. You can see that there's a lot of dust on this boat at this point because I did a lot of cleaning on, well, rather brushing off of certain parts. And that still had a lot of gunk on them. Alright, I'm going to see if I can film this relatively decently. Not at this angle. There. Alright, so this is going to cause some spillage, I imagine. Which is fine, because the bilge still has to get emptied out more. But it's a start. Going to take this one bolt off. In case you're wondering, I just had a look at some YouTube videos on how to do this. Yep, there's the fuel already. I am by absolutely no stretch of the imagination an expert at this. Oh crap, I forgot something important. These, well, there goes that. These are supposedly nitrile gloves, but I have also added another layer of protection, or rather I am about to. Because over here I also got nitrile disposables. I would very much like to keep my hands intact, as supposedly diesel fuel not particularly conducive to diesel fuel. I think somebody said it was carcinogenic, so not something I want to have in direct contact with my hands. So I'm going to sort of double armor up. We're going to go with one layer of these and then the working gloves, because of course these things, they might not exactly do it. Now, one of the fuel filters has already fallen down. I need to have a look at where exactly it went to. You can definitely see fuel coming out of here. Right there. Which is a bit peculiar, because I thought I closed the valve. So I'm not sure why there's fuel coming out of there. Here's the second filter, or something like it. You can see that there's definitely some gunk in there. Look at that. I, for one, don't believe that's supposed to be there. Then again, what do I know? No, supposedly these things are supposed to be clean. What I don't really get is, where's the fuel filter then? Is there still something in this part? Here? Here? Because it doesn't strike me as such. So, seeing as those are empty, where does the fuel filter go? Because yes, there's one here, sure, but what are these things for then? Does that mean that the tank is contaminated? Is that what it's trying to tell me? Because I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I just don't really know what to do about it. Okay, got the whole unit out. This is a sort of coarse filter, I guess, a sedentary filter, or well, maybe not sedentary, a sediment filter of sorts. Now, there are all sorts of rings on top. I'm going to keep those as is, because I don't mean to disrupt the whole thing. I've cleaned these. I've cleaned these spyglasses. I've cleaned these parts as best I can. And then I'm going to put the whole thing back together, because if this is just a sediment, yeah, here, a sedimenter element, if this is just for sediments, then it doesn't do much beyond that. It doesn't really filter the fuel. So that's what that fuel filter down there is for. I don't know. You learn something new every day, because I thought I had 3 of these elements in line. I do not. I only have 1 fuel filter. Which, if that is clogged, would explain a whole lot. It would explain a whole lot as to why the boat isn't getting up to its normal RPM. Alright. So now we get to put everything back together. This one was from this side. This one came from the other side. So you're gonna go... That goes, that was in there, and then this thing came there, and then this bolt went through, so like that, except this is of course on the top side, right there. Alright, let's go do that. Never make these things easy to reach. Because why would anything ever be easy on a boat? Oh, sorry, these... this thing comes in from below. And this guy goes in from top. There is one O-ring that I dug up. I don't think it's part of this. I think I dug it up when I was trawling the bilge, so to speak, in order to find this element that went skinny dipping. Come on, little one. Turn the camera a little bit. There. All right. I'm still going to hold on to it, because I really don't want to send it skinny dipping again. Not after I just cleaned it. Come on. Now the rattle is actually starting to do its thing. There we go. I'm not sure how tight these things are supposed to go, but if it stops, it stops. And I think I gotta at least have it fairly secure, otherwise it's going to start leaking again, which, of course, is unacceptable. Come on, a bit more. I didn't put it to loosen, did I? I probably did. Yeah, I did. I was trying to loosen it again. Alright, that looks secure. And next part. This goes in there. That goes on. Where's the ring that came off of this one? This needs a ring. It's not that one. I think I might have misplaced one, because this thing comes in from below, so that one's secure. That one has a ring. And then this thing comes there, but I'm not going to have it sliding around like that. Unacceptable. Where did I put that ring? New setback. I was trying to tighten this thing up because I noticed it was still leaking fuel, which, by the way, it still is. I tightened it some more, I tightened it, and there, broke it. Fuck. So now I get to go and buy a new one for that particular part. And in the meanwhile, we really need to stop this fuel leak because it's getting quite annoying. And I really do not wish to have a whole bunch of fuel getting wasted. So I'm going to loosen this other guy on the other side. And just put that in there. Which probably won't fix it. But the thing is, I don't really know where the fuel comes from. I mean, yes, I know where it comes from. Surely. Because, let me show you. There's an in arrow here. Good lord. Take the camera off the harness. There. In arrow. So it comes from right there. And then goes here. There should be some sort of stoppage, right? Some sort of, please don't send me more fuel. But I don't know where. And I don't know how to get there. So, we're bleeding fuel here, which is expensive. And these heating things, or rather insulation, it's not like I can get to the fuel tank there. So how the fuck do I get to the fuel tank? Okay, I did a quick consultation with ChatGPT, and it turns out I have no fuel stopping thing, no sealant or whatever. I don't know the English term at the moment. Which means I have a gravity feed system, which just means that this trickle right there, that's diesel, or rather HVO 100. The more natural friendly version is just nicely leaking right there into the bilge. And it will continue to do so until, supposedly, everything's empty. I put about 40... No, I think about 80 liters of diesel in there. Fucking hell. So, I need to stop this one way or another way, which means I'm going to have to do something about this line here. It's copper, supposedly. And I'm going to tear it... Well, I'm not going to tear it off. I'm going to open it. Because I need some way to stop this flow. And... Hold on, there's something supposed to go in there. If I put another bolt like that in there, does that stop? Behold, the DIY-est of solutions. That's a glove. That's a tie wrap. But hey, it's... Well, there's essentially no pressure whatsoever, so there is no... Well, I don't need more.
Just don't need more than that. Which is great, because now I have a solution. Briefly. What I'm also going to do is just take this thing off, because I was advised by our Lord ChatGPT to just replace the whole thing and make sure that I got something that works a little better, including something that has a crane on it so you can slow the flow or just entirely cut the flow. This thing over here turned out to be a bit of a dud. I don't think it actually does anything. I doubt it's there for decoration, but the bolts from there couldn't go in there because there's no screwing whatsoever. So the next thing I'm going to do is remove this one again, let that drain into bilge. I know it's not pretty. I don't have any further capacity on my jerry can, so I might need to empty the bilge later today. If I still can. I don't know. We'll see about that. For now, I'm happy at least this thing has stopped. And this is going to be the next phase of the operation, which will again... Well, actually... I guess I could just leave this in place. If this is not leaking, I could probably leave this in place. I have also considered just adding this plus that, but... Oh, right, that's the problem. This thing over here is now refusing to come out. I think something might have snapped off here, so I'm just going to order a new part. You know, throw another bunch of money at the problem, and that might make it go away.
Back home, I investigated what parts I need and what sort of new connection I'm going to have to make. Because there is definitely an option to buy another one of those dual things where you have one core, no, not even a coarse filter, a sedenter, a water splitter, and another one next to it. I think it's a bit much, so I've just ordered one. But since all of these lines are copper, I've also ordered a bunch of hosing as well as their accessories in order to make everything easier. At least I hope so. I plan to install this sometime within the next 2 to 3 days to make sure that fuel stopping DIY invention is not going to be the thing that holding back the fuel. There's going to be an actual fuel valve there that will stop the flow. Installing all of that, though, will probably be part of the next video. For now, thank you for watching. I do have a sense that I'm sometimes making things worse on the boat, that I'm not actually doing a whole lot to restore it, but I guess it is part of the learning. You're going to have to break a few eggs to make an omelet and stuff like that. You're going to have to figure out that, well, if you tighten that bolt too much, the glass is going to crack and it's going to break apart. And now I know. So I won't be doing that again. Tight is tight, and if it's still leaking, you're probably missing a ring somewhere. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed, and please join me soon again for more engineering mechanical challenges on Alegria. See you there.